Hello everybody and welcome back to Leeton. My name's Jace and this video is polytunnel part 4, I think. So as you know, we've got up the frame, we've got the foundation tubes in that I made, that's all concreted, and we've got the basics of the base rail put around the bottom. What I want to do now is build the door frames, because they're an integral part of the strength of the tunnel, and also when that's done I can then do the path down the middle and put a bed in the middle as well, a raised bed or partially raised bed. So that's what this video is about. So if you can remember, the plan is to put the cover on this later this year in the autumn, or maybe even the very early spring next year, we'll see. But for now I want to get a door frame in at both ends, and where this string is on both sides is indicating the width of this bed and this bed, the center walkway. But I am going to put a really thin bed in the middle, and the idea for that is I can then grow tomatoes, cucumbers, etc. on string hanging from the frame, and then there will be a thin path either side of that raised bed. So I did roughly dig out the holes for the posts. I'm sure they're going to need cleaning out, we've had a lot of rain, etc. They're 9-foot posts that I've bought, so that should be about right. We've got about 8 foot from there to there, and we want at least a foot in the ground. So at the minute these two strings are 1 meter apart. The posts are 3-inch posts, so we're going to lose 6 inches off that. So we're going to end up with around 3 feet, just under 3 feet, which I've checked, and that's enough to get my wheelbarrow through as well, which I probably will never want to do, to be honest, because having the centre bed is going to make using a wheelbarrow in there fairly difficult, unless of course I'm just putting compost in there. Then I could go in up onto the bed and just fill the beds as I want. But at least by making the door that width, it gives me that option if I ever want to. Okay, so what I want to do is cut the post off completely on this line, and then notch it out about 25 millimeters deep on this piece, and then cut it that way, so that I've got a step that fits under the frame of the polytunnel, and that gives these end 2 hoops, it will give them some support. So that's the next job, cut right through there and then about 25 millimeters down on this line. think what I'm going to do, because that one fits pretty well, so I'm going to quickly go round with this post, check all the other three, and if this fits them all, then I'm going to use this as a pattern, mark up all the others, cut them, and we can start putting them in. Of course, we're going to have left and rights, aren't we? Yeah. So this post should fit that corner. Right. So I am going to have to mark twice. It's quite hard work, that. It's quite warm today, it's muggy. The sun isn't out, but it's really quite warm. So that's all 4 posts cut. Obviously there are left and rights, as I thought. And I didn't use one to mark them all out. What I did was measured each one individually, put it in the hole and marked where I had to cut. Because if the holes are different depths, then I'd end up having to prop up posts on bits of slate and bricks and what have you. So I did each one to suit, and it's probably taken half an hour, 40 minutes. And I certainly wouldn't condone anybody using a jigsaw the way I've just been using it. So this is not a how-to video. Please take care of your own health and safety, etc. while you're doing this sort of thing. So I'm going to make a brew now. I need a drink, and then we're going to get these screwed in to the frame and to the base rails, plumb in both directions. Obviously they've got to be plumb this way and that way. So now I've got them screwed to the base rail. I want to screw them to the upper rail, the hoop, and there's no holes in that, so I'm going to have to drill a hole through the hoop, through the steel, and then put a screw in like this, and I'll do that on all four. So now we've got the two uprights at both ends. I need to put a cross piece in to make the head of the door frame, and I'm probably going to put it the height of the these rails here across there, because that should be just about high enough for me to walk through without banging my head. And I want to put crop bars from these points across anyway, so that will tie it all in nicely. So that's what I'm going to do. In fact, I think I'm going to position the bottom of the door head, the door frame head, level with the bottom, or level with those rails, so that the actual wood will be slightly higher than those. That's the door frame heads in both ends. It actually went together quite well. Pleased. So all I've got to do, I know it's plumb this way. I've got to make sure it's plumb this way now. So I'll grab a couple of bits of scrap wood to act as braces and some screws. We'll just go around and do that, and then it's ready for concrete. Okay guys, so it's on a mixed concrete, nothing mega strong. We're talking 5-to-1 mixed. It's really to add weight to the bottom of the posts, nothing more. But before I put the concrete around the posts, I'm going to put what I need in here to make up this broken slab where I put this French drain in. So that's the holes half full of concrete, and I'm really quite pleased with today's, well, afternoon really. I was at work this morning, was up early on site and then paperwork, and then got out here, so an afternoon's work, probably four hours, something like that. So yeah, I'm really pleased. So tomorrow, when you next see me, it will be tomorrow, it's going to be follow these string lines, put a wooden edge down the bed apart from that bit over there where the new potatoes are, the Charlottes, because some idiot planted them right on the string line. Look, I don't know who that could have been. I have to look into that. But I can get all of this side done and half of this side, and can get it leveled off a bit. We can get some weed control fabric down, and then we can build a bed in the center. A bit more concreting to do tomorrow as well. I'll explain that in the morning, what that's for. So I'm going to go and get some tea. I'm going to pick myself some salad that's growing over here, and I think I'm going to do myself a nice ham and cheese omelette and some salad. Look at that. I mean, that, you don't get stuff that green and healthy in the supermarkets, that's for certain. So what I want to do here is use these old bits of timber off a shed that we took down, just to form the sides of the beds. And I've cut some stakes out of pallet wood, and I've used pallet wood because it's wide enough that I can make the join between two pieces of wood, and the other end of this one is going to get screwed to the fence post, sorry, the door frame post. So I'm going to use the string as my guide, as the level. So that's going to be the top of the piece of wood, and I need to set the stake back about 10mm from the string to allow for the thickness of the wood. Okay, so that's sides in roughly. The timber isn't brilliant, it isn't going to last forever, but it's free, it's here. I can recycle it and replace it at a later date. I may even concrete this at some point, but we'll come on to that later. But for now, what I want, so this is the door here. I want a free space that I can kind of step into if it's raining. Get in and close the door behind me. Then we'll have a bed down the middle and a path either side. And on this stick over here, I've marked out, so again at this end I've got a 3-foot gap that we can step into. Then this is the center of the path, so that's 500mm from there to there and there to there. And then I'm thinking a 300mm wide 1-foot bed from here down to that piece of wood, and then that gives us a 350mm wide path either side. That's what I'm thinking. But there is a but here. As part of the reinforcing of this frame, because I've mentioned before it's a cheap blow away frame, I want to put crop bars across between each and every junction there. Then I'm going to put a steel bar, nothing heavy, probably 20 by 20 box, something like that, which will be welded to all of the crop bars. So the crop bars will be bolted to these joints, and then there'll be a steel bar all the way down, welded to the crop bars. It will also be screwed to each door frame head, both ends of the tunnel. And then I want some steel bar coming down. Now I've got some galvanized 2-inch tube, quite heavy tube, and I'm thinking I'm going to put those in as posts at the end, each end of this center bed. So there'll be a steel post there and one here, and between those posts I can then run wires for climbing things up, etc. And the other reason for them is they will be fixed to the ground with concrete, and they will be fixed to the steel work that I'm going to put in up here as well. So that's going to really stiffen this tunnel up against the weather, I hope. I know I've got to put diagonals in at the ends both ways, etc, etc. That's all got to be done as well. So that's the extra bit of concreting that we're going to do. Now, because I don't know exactly at the moment what height these crop bars are going to be, because I haven't really got to that bit yet, I can't just concrete these poles into the ground. So what I'm going to do is pour a concrete footing at that end and a concrete footing at this end, and just leave it smooth, and then I can weld a plate with holes in to the bottom of my posts and fix it down that way with some big screws or rag bolts, etc. So I think the next job is going to be, after I've had a cup of tea that is, the next job is going to be digging the footing there and here for these steel posts, and then we'll get some concrete in them later on. Now I'm not talking a huge footing here, we're talking like a cubic foot, something like that. That's all it needs to be. And the soil that comes out of them I will put around the door frame posts. So that's another little job getting done at the same time. So that's the two footings poured. So all I've got to do now is make a bed down the middle, and rather than using all loads and loads of bits of scrap wood, I think I'm going to get a couple of pallet collars and adapt them to fit, and fill in any little bit with a piece of wood. So I want the bed to be 300 wide. So what I'm going to do, measure 300 from the edge of the pallet collar, top and bottom, and then cut along that line. So this will be the end of the bed. Then I can open the pallet collar up, it'll go as far as it goes, and I've got one more which I can do the same to, and we'll see how far we get. And I might, if this goes all the way down one side, I might have to cut this end down as well, I'm not certain yet. And if there's any spaces left, I'll fill them in with a piece of wood that I've got. So what I've done here is move my string lines to 150mm either side of centre, all the way along, and now I can keep the sides of my bed straight, path the same distance both sides. And looks like with the pallet collars I'm going to have a piece about 300-400mm each end to make up. But what I'm going to do first is get these set in place and measure each piece individually, get them cut. I'll put some stakes in as well. There we go. It's been a bit of a mission, but it's there. And the pallet collars actually work quite well. I had to cut two pieces, 190mm high, 370mm long, and some stakes, put those in. So the cardboard's in there because It's just to suppress the weeds until it rots away. And I've wet it because it is so dry, the ground on the surface is dry. Dig down a few inches and it's quite damp, but I want the cardboard to be soft so that when I put things in here they can grow through it and into the ground. So now the moment that it's all been for, all of this work for the last day and a half, so there we go, guys. Oh, knackered, but very pleased, really pleased with that. Got the door frames in, got that pathway covered, got the bed edges in, and got a centre bed as well. Oh, and the concrete footings for the extra posts that I'm going to put in. So I've got a bit more to do. I think I'm going to put an extra stake in the middle of these long pieces and pull the soil back over the weed membrane and just tidy the beds up. But yeah, fantastic. And that centre bed is certainly gonna be good for toms and things like that. Happy days. Well, thank you very much for watching. It's been quite a long video, but hopefully you made it to the end. And if you've enjoyed watching, then please give it the thumbs up, really helps the channel. And if you haven't already subscribed, please do. And follow us on our journey to become more self-sufficient. And I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.